pledge that we will join hands with you. We will kneel in, we will sit in until we can eat in any corner in the United States.
Now, that is civil rights pioneer Daisy Bates. She's speaking at the 1963 March on Washington. Bates led the charge to desegregate Arkansas public schools almost 70 years ago. Now, she is just one of the many unsung activists. Wellesley professor Kellie Carter Jackson highlights in her new book. It's called We Refuse, A Forceful History of Black Resistance. And we're very happy to tell you that she joins us first on CBS Mornings. Good morning to you, Professor.
Hi.
I learned so much, Professor Carter Jackson, reading the book. Things I didn't know. It was eye-opening to me. And you say in the book, We Refuse is a book about hard conversations, not focused on right or wrong, but what happens, what works when Black resistance and liberation is at the center to understand Black humanity and rage in pursuit of freedom. Wow.
Yeah. I wrote this book because I was mad. And I wrote this book because I was frustrated and because I had thought about everything that happened in 2020, not just the pandemic, but also this racial reckoning. And I didn't feel like marches and protests and hashtags were sort of achieving the purpose that people had set out to accomplish when they wanted to reckon with all of this racial injustice. And so I think we have this very limited, flat, like one-dimensional perspective. When we talk about protest, you know, the question is, are you going to be violent or you can be nonviolent?
Yes.
As those are the only options. And when I think about the history of this country, you know, I think about the fact that we've never seen 4 little white girls killed in a church. We've never had a white man assassinated in his driveway. We've never had a Black man be welcomed into a white church and then him proceed to shoot it up. And so I really wanted to talk about these very skewed ways that we think about violence and how we don't interrogate the violence of white supremacy enough.
One of the things you write in the book, speaking of nonviolence, our culture's fixation, I'm quoting the book now, on nonviolence has caused us to miss entire histories of Black responses to white supremacy. Nonviolence on its own is not at all expansive enough to rectify the harm that has been caused by racism. And I want you to set that in the context of the Haitian Revolution, where we saw a revolution that was able essentially to overthrow the shackles of slavery on what was then the world's superpower.
Yeah. Well, when we think about revolution, I think we don't have a proper understanding of it because for me, revolution is about replacing an unjust system with a just one. And so in Haiti, the whole purpose was not just to overthrow a colonial power, but to abolish the system of slavery. And that's what was achieved in Haiti. We don't have that in the United States. We have an American Revolution, but slavery persists almost for another 100 years after the American Revolution. And so how should we think of revolutions and what makes them revolutionary? What really shifts sort of the structures that we live in?
Because you say they don't require bloodshed, but they do require sacrifice. And
absolutely.
When you look at the cover of your book, We Refuse, it's a Black woman holding a gun. I thought, oh, Kellie's coming in hot. Okay, everybody. What is the message that you were really trying to send? Because I looked at it, you're trying to highlight about Black humanity.
Yes.
So often Black people are seen through the lens of criminality.
Yes. I wanted to push back on these ideas and say that when we think about Black resistance, we have an array of tools in front of us. And it's not just force and guns. I think about revolution. I think about protection. I have a whole chapter on flight and a chapter on joy. Joy I see as being one of the most potent weapons that we have to fight against sort of the erosion of white supremacy. And so I wanted us to have this expansive idea to understand that you don't just have to choose between violence or nonviolence. That yes, there are certainly limitations to violence. We all understand that. There's also limitations to the use of nonviolence and how we think about how quickly it can become performative and not really achieve the goals that we set out to accomplish.
Yeah, you mentioned chapter 5, which is joy, and I love that chapter because it forced me to unpack some trauma. And you set up the chapter by talking about loss in your family, a brother and a sister within 2 weeks. How important is it to understand that joy does walk in tandem with grief, and we have to, as a culture, unpack that grief in order to move forward?
Yeah, you can't really understand joy without sorrow, without tough times, without thinking about oppression. I think about joy in the context of the Black church. You know, I grew up in the Black church, and we think about, you know, joy comes in the morning and we think about, you know, in the midnight hour, it's almost the worst, but in the morning, joy comes. Joy is our hope. It is our balm. And so for me, talking about the death of my siblings was a way to also talk about how joy joy fortified my family, how it helped heal my family. And I think that when we think about Black culture writ large, joy is something that fortifies all of us.
No doubt.
Like, the perfect example is the Montgomery Brawl. Like, we
Yeah.
think about how
Yes.
this horrible, fight
Incident
breaks out.
brought us together.
But the humor and the levity that came
Yeah.
after that event was powerful.
Bravo, Kellie Carter
It's an
Jackson.
incredible
Yes,
book.
bravo.
Thank you.
The book
Well done.
Reviews is on sale now wherever you like to buy your books. We will be right back.